We are live, folks. We're back with the evil investor, the man who cares nothing more than to make money in the Pokemon hobby. Steve, what's up, man?
I got a secret for you.
What's that?
I'm gonna get wrecked.
You're gonna get wrecked. He's getting wrecked.
I'm gonna get wrecked.
He's gonna lose all of his financial well-being by making a bad Pokemon decision. So if you guys don't know the meme, Steve hopped on the Discord for like a day and was just like throwing some random plays around, and just he got jumped all over for like anything he was suggesting by a couple people, telling him how badly he's gonna get wrecked and all this stuff. And so it just kind of became a meme ever since for us. It's been funny.
Yeah, I may know a thing or two about a thing or two, and haven't gotten wrecked yet. So
Haven't gotten wrecked yet. But yeah, guys, you guys obviously saw the thumbnail and the title. With all the crazy GameStop stuff going on, I wanted to bring Steve on to talk a little like deeper about the company in general, and about like kind of one, like going through, all their financials and their balance sheets and everything, but like talking about our, because if you guys don't know, Steve, I didn't even share I need to share your Seeking Alpha. If you guys don't know, he writes for Seeking Alpha, and he's made articles on GameStop, and we were talking about a graphic that he made, which kind of gives all the arms that we feel GameStop can go from here and really kind of take over this industry. And so that's why I wanted to have him on, to kind of take a break from as much as just like the Pokemon collector side of things, and talk about more of the financial business side of things when it comes to this situation.
yeah, I mean, I've never been a shareholder in GameStop. I'm not pumping anything. I've actually been pretty bearish on GameStop until the other week. And look, Ryan Cohen, he's an evil genius, the way I'm an evil investor. And GameStop's share price just kept going up, up, and up. And they issued more and more shares. And now they have such a huge war chest. I'm going to share my screen. And this is what's getting very interesting. And I think I'm going to share exactly what I think is going to happen, but I think it's bad for smaller card shops.
Well, of course it is. Of course
right now, GameStop. Go ahead.
So what are we looking at, man? We got GameStop up. Oh no, did I lose him?
Are you lagging or am I lagging?
I don't know. Guys, let us know. Who did we lose? Was it me or Steve?
All right, give me 1 sec.
All right. Monday is coming. How funny. Steve's lagging. Okay, he's getting it fixed. Yeah, guys, if you want to come back at the end, I didn't link it beforehand. I've had kind of a busy day. I forgot to get his link up. But yeah, Steve does a lot of posts on Seeking Alpha. He's got a pretty big following on there, and he breaks down all kinds of different investments on Wall Street, and really like does just all the deep analysis, digs through all these different companies, and shows why they are and aren't good plays. A lot of what he does, as you can see from his tag, is dividend streams. He's got a large, dividend portfolio, and then he also, does make, other plays as well. But it's just having an outside voice, right? It's having that outside voice come on that's kind of outside of the regular Pokemon realm, the whole collector and player and all that, and like game store owner type, thing. And it's just a different perspective from someone literally that just invests in the hobby. Steve will tell you when he gets back on, he didn't, grow up with Pokemon. He didn't, it's not like a passion for him. He just literally sees the financial, I don't know what I'm looking for. Hold on, I think I got a text from him real quick. Hold on, guys. Give him a minute. Hold on. So, but just really believes in just the financial capabilities behind Pokemon and as an investment vehicle. And so, it's just kind of further shows that even people that are mostly, on Wall Street and, don't devote a lot of their time and a lot of their income to their, traditional investments, there are more and more of them moving to hobbies like this because they see the financial capabilities behind it. They see how the investments are performing comparable to the traditional investing world. And so it's just to show the crossover that is happening, because a lot of people don't like to talk about this. A lot of people, that are, involved in collectibles, involved in Pokemon, it's kind of taboo. They don't like to touch the whole, money side of things. They don't like to touch the, outside money coming in, and it should all stay with like people who have a passion for it and are true collectors and all that BS. Where I've always been the opposite. I think it's a great thing for outside money to come in. I think it's a great thing for people who understand investing to be investing in this stuff, because the good part about investors is especially if they're well capitalized, they are not subject to the whims of the market and the emotions of all the crazy YouTube, Discord, Reddit stuff, right? They're not going to be buying into hype and then selling into fear and, all this buy, sell BS. They're going to buy these products and they're going to hold them long term, and they're going to build their positions, and they're not going to sell onto the market and dump everything and make the market crash. They're going to sell them very strategically to make sure the market doesn't know it. And it allows the market to behave a lot smoother, right? And not have these crazy ups and downs like we have been seeing. And the more people like that in the hobby, I think it's better for the hobby than a lot of the people who are undercapitalized and, just kind of trying to make a quick buck, the scalpers, the flippers, the the collectors that see their cards go up and they want to buy more, and then they go down and they panic sell them because they don't really have a lot of money. And so that's one of the reasons I like to have Steve on. So Steve is going to talk a little bit about GameStop. He's going to go through his whole analysis of it, kind of break down all the financials behind them and how they are pivoting, and he is back. And so we're going to get into that in a second. What's up, man? We good?
Yeah, we're good. My firewall was... I have so much security on this computer that I had to shut a few things off.
That's good. That's good, because the cabal will come for you.
Listen, they're real. They are real.
You heard it here first, guys. The cabal is being called out once again as real.
I mean, you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to know that Pokemon cabal is real.
All right, you want to share the screen again?
Yeah, so what Ryan Cohen did was pure genius, because GameStop has been a company in decline for quite some time. Like I said, I'm not a shareholder. I was very bearish on the company for a long time.
Oh yeah, hold on. This is time we have to say, guys, this is not financial advice. We're not financial advisors.
Just going through raw numbers. Like, these are the actual numbers. So in 2015, fiscal year 2015, GameStop did $9.3 billion in revenue. Now, we all know what's been happening with the video game market. Going digital, less of a reason to go into a store. Digital games means no secondary market. That was a very large portion of GameStop's business and a big reason for foot traffic. So their revenue is down just over 50%, because in the trailing 12 months, they were $4.56 billion in revenue. So that's a huge hit. The other problem is they started really losing money, and it has been very hard for them to turn a profit. The only reason they're turning a profit right now is because of their net interest income from their cash pile. So when you look at their balance sheet, they went from having...
No. Are we losing you again, dude? Oh, man. We lost you again. Why does this has to happen?
No, I'm hardwired in, and I took firewalls off. That one couldn't have been me.
All right, go ahead.
So they've added over $3 billion in cash over the past 9 months, because what Ryan Cohen's done, he's done equity raises and sold shares in the public market when you had the mania going on again. And they were able to load up the balance sheet with cash. This is a company that has basically no debt, $12.4 million in long-term debt. This is such a cash-rich company at this point. And the fact that if we go back to the income statement and go quarterly, because of the amount of interest they're generating, last quarter they generated $40 million in interest, that they're actually net profitable. So they have a very long runway. And even if you look at 2-3 years ago, when they were losing $150 million a quarter, when you have $4.2 billion in cash, you have a pretty long runway before you have to really start to worry. So is the video game business going to completely go away? No, not right away, but they still need to figure out what they're going to do. And they've been doing certain things, and you've covered the whole aspect with GameStop about the Pokemon PSA 8, 9, and 10 aspect with selling cards to them. The other day it came out where, and this is what made me write the article, came out that they were becoming an authorized PSA dealer. And have you covered this aspect of it?
Yeah, I covered that on the video Friday. So yeah, they're gonna start taking in cards. Most game stores, at least the ones I know, that have offered this service, usually have been charging $20 to even $25 a card, and GameStop's cutting that down to $15.99, which is $1 more than what it's going to cost individuals like myself, even after paying for the yearly membership. So someone who doesn't send hundreds and thousands of cards a year and only sends like 100 or less, it actually makes more financial sense to just have GameStop do it, because it's less shipping, it's less per card, and you don't have to pay a membership fee.
And have you been going to Gemrate and looking at how many cards are being graded?
I mean, not recently, in the last, I guess, month or two.
Is on track to grade 15.8 million cards on a 12-month run rate. Last week, they graded 319,000 cards. Just PSA.
Okay.
We already see that GameStop has full e-commerce market for graded cards on the website. So I think that they're going to reinvent themselves and become a national card shop.
So yeah, here it is right here, guys. Items graded yesterday, PSA 68,000. Here's like the CGC, SGC, Beckett, tags not even on the list. I mean, it's just not even close.
No, not even close. And here's the big thing about GameStop. They have the best locations. When you think about a regular card shop, and I'm not talking about Cards HQ or Burbank, just a normal card shop, they're in off the beaten path places. Not the most inviting storefronts. Some of them haven't been updated since 80s or 90s. It's just not inviting. Some of them do a great job. Some of them don't. And the one thing about GameStop is, if you think about where their locations primarily are, they're in malls or shopping centers anchored by supermarkets or a CVS or a Walgreens or something like that. A lot of foot traffic. People feel safe going there. And you got to think about it. If you're a parent buying something for your kid, you're more likely to go to one of those places because you're already there than going out the way to a card shop.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you just said, it seems like a more inviting environment.
Yes.
Look, I'm in this world. I get it. I mean, I have a lot of friends, obviously, that own game shops. But, like you said, a lot of them have that older style feel where it's just like this old hole in the wall shop. A lot of them are very unorganized. They're not set up very well for retail. A lot of the employees are not as inviting, I would say, as like just an average GameStop employee. They're usually going to talk over people's heads if they're like casuals or parents. And it makes a lot more sense for the casual person to go to a GameStop over finding a game store to buy things.
And here's the big thing about GameStop. You have brand recognition. And this is where I think it's going to become a problem for smaller independent shops. You're dealing with a corporation that has basically no debt. They are staying afloat, and they have $4.2 billion in cash. They just did a deal with PSA. They will probably transform their footprint. If I was Ryan Cohen, this is what I'm thinking. And I'm going to share the screen for the chart that I sent you in our text. So this is what I think is going to happen. This is what I would do if I was them. I would go fully integrated 360-degree flywheel with everything you can do, because they already have huge foot traffic. You turn.
By the way, with this article, how many hits did it get on your Seeking Alpha?
I haven't looked. I don't know. A lot.
It was like what? It was a lot of views. I forget what he showed me. I forget if it was 1 million or it was crazy.
So I think that they free up some of the dead space they have from the used video game side, because that's really not much a thing anymore. And they actually become a physical card shop. They already have an online marketplace and they've already invested in that infrastructure. They have brand recognition with their website, a lot of traffic. They are a PSA submission center now. So they're also a company with a ton of liquidity. So if you drop your cards off to them, you know that they already have the buyback program. So now you have the ability to take your cards when they come back in. You can trade them for something else or sell them right off the bat. Or you can probably get store credit also. They'll probably do something like that. But I think they're going to go a step further and they're going to start doing TCG local leagues, not at the locations at the malls because those actually close at 9 or 10 p.m. whenever the mall closes. But they're independent locations. They're in strip malls. Theoretically, they could keep those open until 11, 12, 1 in the morning if they wanted to. It doesn't matter because they have their own entrance and exit. So you may see them really ramp up TCG local leagues, do GameStop sponsored tournaments, regional, local tournaments, satellite tournaments, card conventions, just like Collecticon, which you went to. There could be a situation where GameStop goes all in on these types of card conventions, do trade nights at physical locations, and then do a full social media press and really recruit talent for YouTube shows and podcasts, but not just in trading cards, the whole video game realm, video game circuit, and in their conventions, it could be dual, not just TCG, but video games also, because there's a lot of crossover between the two demographics. And I think that this is the shift that they're going to make. And if they do, it's going to be very hard for local shops to compete when GameStop calls for distribution and they're coming with a fat check and they don't need credit. And it's just cash right on delivery.
Yeah, I mean, I think the social media side of things people haven't thought about as much is, just like Fanatics is making huge plays in the sports card world, and it's spilling over to the Pokemon TCGs as well, especially with their Fanatics Live when they bought out PWCC. But I do think that something like GameStop, they could start creating a similar type platform where they have streams and they have social media and they have a lot of things like that. Not to mention that. What if they start carrying the full line of products, like the full distribution line that stores do? They get the booster boxes, they get all that stuff.
You don't make a play to do a buyback program and then become a PSA authorized dealer to stop there. There is no way that they are not going after distribution. There is no way that they are not going to carry the full line booster boxes and everything. It just wouldn't make sense. You're not going to invest this money in infrastructure to do something half-ass, especially when you've seen a 50% decline in your main business line. They have to do something to reinvent themselves. This is a hot market that is expanding, and they have the ability to become the only national card shop with brand recognition.
I also think the pro memberships, right? So I'm going to share the screen real quick again.
Huge
right here. So guys, this is Costco, right? They get 73% of their profits through membership fees. Okay. Now, up until now, a lot of people are pro members, but there hasn't, it's more just like for sales here and there. If GameStop can start to make their memberships start to expand out to more of these different avenues, and it makes it a lot more worth it, especially with the PSA grading, the selling the PSA cards, if they do tournaments, all these other things, it's going to make the pro membership a lot more valuable. They may be able to charge more, and they may get a lot more signups to make that another huge part of their business.
And you got to think about it from this aspect also. Let's say they charge $99 or $149 for a pro membership, and it gives you 5% off booster boxes, $1 off every card you grade. That becomes an incentive for anybody in the hobby to go get a pro membership and only deal with GameStop than a local shop.
Yeah.
And the volume that GameStop is going to do on PSA grading, they are probably going to get much different pricing than everybody else.
Yeah, and let's be honest, like everyone's got their moral qualms with the big guys coming in, but everyone likes to complain about Walmart, and guess what? Everyone still shops at Walmart. Everyone likes to complain about the big guys, but they all still eventually, if the price is right and you can go get a better deal by shopping at GameStop and it makes more sense and it's more convenient and every last thing, you're going to be using GameStop. It's just the way it is.
What you just said is the important thing: convenience, efficiency. This is a fragmented market. It's very inefficient. GameStop has the ability to make some efficiency in it. And that's big for a lot of people, especially not every town has a local TCG, but GameStops are all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this a long time. Like we've had very serious conversations about trying to almost unite the TCG market and find a way to make a marketplace or just something that is kind of universal. And it's near impossible. Like to try to do it, it's near impossible. But I think this is kind of a step in the right direction to make a more normalized market that everyone can kind of follow and realize, and the pricing can be more universal than it is. It's never going to be 100%. There's always going to be independence out there, but it's going to help at least on that front.
I have racked my brain around figuring out a way to make the entire market more efficient and putting real capital behind something to try to do something and getting private investors to go in it with me, but there's no way to do it.
Well, that's the worst part. That's what we always we beat our brains together with. It's like,
there's no way to do it.
Too
many outlets to sell, too many private sales, too many shows, too many everything.
Well, the worst part is it's like you could have the money, right? You could have the money behind you, but if you don't have the way to do it, it's just like, well, the money doesn't mean anything. It's like, and I don't think it's a matter of enough money. Like, GameStop's got all the money in the world. I just don't know if there's a way to physically do it effectively.
There isn't that I can think of, and GameStop already has the footprint where they can go at it differently and potentially get a lot of synergy from their current built-in audience, because there is a lot of synergies and crossovers between Dungeons and Dragons, Magic, Pokemon, from the video game aspect to the card realm. And when you think about social media, YouTube channels, think about the amount of hits and traffic they can drive with different YouTube shows and news outlets on YouTube and everything else, from not just video games, but now the card market. And recruiting talent for people that has podcasts already, putting it on the GameStop platform, GameStop brand, revenue sharing. I don't think they stop at PSA. I think they're going full throttle on this, because if they don't, they're going to have to do something else with that cash to generate a new business line. And this seems like it's a very good synergy and a segue in from what they already have.
I mean, just seeing the amount of money being spent, GameStop, Fanatics, like people are really starting to take this, cardboard world serious. And I understand the people have been there since the beginning, and the kind of the true hardcore collectors, they don't usually like that, right? They don't like the big money and the big business coming in and new people coming in. But me and you talked about it a long time ago. You want it to appeal to as many people as possible in the mainstream. Like that's what grows the hobby. And people need to stop worrying about, well, they're not true fans, or they don't actually like this or that. It's like, it doesn't matter. All their money spends the same.
Michael Rubin purchased Topps for $500 million in 2021, I think. There's a lot of money going in. He wants to 10x the hobby. You look at how big these shows are. You look at the demand for the products. It's only going to get bigger. And my fear, and I don't utilize a local TCG anymore. My buddy has a pretty good connection at a shop he deals with, so I go through him. But there is a lot to be said about a GameStop being able to carry all these lines and do everything that an LCS does. Yeah. It's really interesting. And I think it's going to be very difficult for a lot of these LCSs. And does it hurt people like P Football Pete? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But why wait? Why have everything shipped to you? If you have a GameStop 10 minutes away, why not just pick everything up there if the price is going to be around the same price? Now, do they have to play, because they're a corporation, do they have to stick to MSRP on booster boxes? I don't know.
You know who Ty Lopez is?
No.
He's that here in my garage guy with the Lambo, sell all those online courses?
No.
Well, he got super wealthy on selling courses, but he's started to direct a lot of his money into because I've watched podcasts with him, into buying out brands that have went out of business. Things like, Pier 1, things like, I can't think of all the top of my head, but he buys out a lot of these businesses that have went bankrupt or buys them out of bankruptcy and has no reason for any of the stores, all he wants is the name, the brand recognition. All he wants is that to be able to sell, bring it onto an online business. All he has to do is warehouse things and start selling online, but he has the name because people already recognize the name and trust the name. And I think that's what people don't understand about GameStop. Like, you may have these trusted game stores that you shop from online or go to, but the general public has no idea who those people are. You say P Football Pete, people are like, who the hell is that, right? You could say these giant names in the hobby. No one knows. No one has a clue who they are. You say GameStop, everyone knows GameStop.
The
Everybody.
hardcore people will still buy from a Rudy, P Football Pete, whoever it is. But when you start talking about parents buying things for their kids, it is much easier and simpler to figure out just going through GameStop because you're not buying something on eBay and having to worry about anything. It's backed by a national brand. A lot of older people are going to feel way more comfortable with that. And I think that that's going to be the big appeal for GameStop. And it's going to get really interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, it's like, the earlier you get on the train, the better it is. It's like, the longer you wait and hold out and like think like, oh, well, GameStop couldn't do that. They couldn't do that. Like, honestly, like the odds are, right, with that amount of money behind them and the moves they've already made. And here's the other thing, guys, like the likelihood of these giant companies like Pokemon, like PSA, like other things, dealing with GameStop over dealing with all these other independent people is much higher, right? Like, they're going to take GameStop's call over anyone else's call like that. It's just the way it is. It's the way the world works. And I understand, like, it's not always the best thing that people want to hear coming into their hobby, but these are the things that need to happen for things to grow, or else they're just going to stay in their own little kind of bubble, and you'll have the same money sloshing around forever, and things may grow over time. But this is what's needed for intense growth.
Yeah, I mean, everybody should want this to happen because if you're in the hobby, whatever way, if you're a collector, you're an investor, you actually play the game, you should want this to go well because it's only going to bring more notoriety. It's going to bring more eyeballs, and it's going to bring more liquidity and more capital into the market. And that is a net win for everybody.
For sure. For sure. What are you doing these days in the hobby? What have you been looking at? What have you been eyeballing? I see you on your phone right now. You trying to catch some auctions?
I'm trying to catch some auctions, but I got some work texts coming in. I got some auctions that are coming up in the next 30 minutes.
Sunday night's a rough night, man. That's auction night.
Sunday nights are rough nights, especially when you're trying to get ahead of people on certain things. I have some theories I'm not going to actually disclose, but there's some baseball stuff I'm trying to get my hands on before the end of the season. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But as far as Pokemon, buying cases, buying boxes, and it's really interesting what's happening. I've listened to so many things that you've done and other people have done. I don't understand why people get so crazy over 109 to 114, 114 to 119. Who cares? If $10 matters that much, you probably shouldn't be buying this stuff anyway. I mean, if you're buying this as an investment and it goes to 200, whether you pay 109 or 119, in the grand scheme of things, really doesn't make a huge difference.
Right. Yeah, it's like sitting there. It's like sitting there trying to put an order in for a stock, and it's jumping around 5 and 10 cents, and you're worried about it.
And you put a limit order in, and you miss it. I mean, The bottom line is, with evolving skies, nobody could have ever thought it was going to do what it did. But if you had been sitting there saying, "Man, it went to 150. Should I not buy it?" Does it really matter at this point if you got a 150 or 175?
Right.
Or 225 or 250? The whole nickel and diming thing just doesn't make sense to me. Because if you truly think that this is going to continue to go the way that it has over the years, that 4 to 6 years is the sweet spot. And when it comes down to it, that $10 truly doesn't matter in the ROI factor if you have the time to wait. And it's crazy that people are making such a big deal about surging sparks going up on pre-order. It's crazy. Yeah, demand's there. It's going to go up. People see they can make money. It's going to go up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think one of the big food companies I believe made a statement like that like around COVID times. Like I think it was like Oreo or like one of those companies, and they were just like, yeah, if people are buying them out at this price, we're gonna raise the price. It's simple supply and demand. Like
business 101. If you have more demand than supply, you are in a position to raise prices. I mean, it is what it is. And Pokemon Center doesn't have many levers they can pull to generate more profit. And they can generate more profit by increasing prices. Distributors can generate more revenue by increasing prices. People are still buying it. I mean, it went up on pre-order by $10 and everybody's going crazy because it's going up, up, up. Now they don't want to miss it because it's going to go to 125, 130 next. So if the market is still there and they're still buying it, expect it to continue to go up.
Yeah, like I see some people talking about like, taking care of the pennies, you get the dollars. Like one of the things I always like, a few sayings I always like from Dave Ramsey is when he always talks about like the people who retire wealthy. It's like it had very little to do with what funds and what indexes and how much they were paying for each fund they were in and all this BS. What had to do with most with is people that actually put money into their investment. Like that's the main thing. It's like, dude, you're not going to remember if you paid 104, 108, 100. When the box is $500, what's going to matter is, did you buy the box or not? It's not what price you got in, it's did you buy it? And the same thing with the stock market. It's like, well, did you invest monthly into your 401k and your investments? Or did you just like consistently analyze all these different funds? And I don't know, they charge me too much there to manage it. Oh, this index is good. This is that. It's just like, dude, just buy something. Just buy something.
Yeah, and the two biggest things with stocks is actually making the investment and then time in the market. Because people who have been invested in an S&P index fund over 20, 30 years have done really well. Time in the market is so important. Doesn't matter. People that are investing every 2 weeks or every paycheck into their 401k, over a 20, 30-year period, you're going to buy ups, you're going to buy downs, you're going to buy sideways. Doesn't matter. You're looking at an overall number in your account, not where you bought every last share of a mutual fund or an ETF.
Yeah. Hey, so I'm sure you get a lot of like responses on your articles, like especially these days in the stock market. What do you take of all the doom and gloomers all the time? Like the more stocks go up, the more companies do well, the more the economy does, like the more Pokemon. It's just like, why is it that every step of the way people are always calling for Armageddon? Like, do you think it's just something in our nature? Do you think that people just like, are more likely to be negative than positive? Like, why do you think every time something is good, people expect it to be bad? And then every time something's bad, people just like are like, oh yeah, of course it did. I expected that. Why do you think it's so hard for people to get on board of things that are actually positive?
If I had that answer, I mean, I would love to have that answer. It's crazy. And, it's one of those things where people always have a negative attitude, but I don't see it often anymore. A lot of people are coming around to it that we actually are in a good economy. You have a great business set up for 2025. The Fed started with a 50 bip cut. They're likely going to cut by another 25 bips on the 7th. They're likely going to cut again in December and finish with 100 basis points off the Fed fund rate. When that happens, your cost of capital declines. So businesses are more likely to borrow to expand. You also have businesses that have the ability to refinance if they have higher rate debt or floating rate debt. When that happens, you expand margins because you're paying less to service the debt. And you have inflation down 6 consecutive months, lowest point on headline CPI at 2.4% right now. So that means input costs are going down. We actually have a really good setup for next year. And when you look at the expanded Fed dot plot, we could be at about 3.25 or 3.5% rates end of next year. If that happens and inflation stays where it is and you get oil between 60 and 70 a barrel, it's going to be a really good 2025. And you got to look at the efficiencies with technology, because when you drive efficiency from technology, that is also a recipe to expand margins. And when you look at forward EPSs on a lot of these companies, the analyst community is expecting the largest companies to drastically increase their earnings per share over the next 2 years. I think we're in a secular bull market that's going to last for a couple of years right now. I did not think there was a recession coming. I'm not going to say I was correct because a recession is inevitable, but nothing indicated a recession was going to occur, because the main reason why a recession occurs is because unemployment goes up by a percentage point. We weren't at that point yet. And if we don't get the job market to completely tank and mass layoffs, I don't think a recession is going to occur. And if a recession doesn't occur, you're going to have a lot of liquidity in the market spending on goods and services. So I think it's a good market for the stock market. If it's a good market for the stock market, I think alternative assets are going to do well also.
Yeah, I'm gonna respond to Agent Crypto, the 1.1 trillion credit card debt. So I've done. If you guys want to go, I could actually link the video at the end. I did a video where I actually showed the credit card debt, the home mortgage defaults, the car loan defaults, personal loan defaults, and business loan defaults. And all of them were, if not at their lowest, near their lowest they've been in the past 30 years. So all of the debt is still being serviced, meaning people aren't defaulting, which tells you how strong everything is. People may be putting more on credit cards, right? People also like to cite the savings going down. Well, guys, savings rate just takes into account stuff in your bank accounts. Could it be more people are investing now than ever? If more people are investing, that'll make their savings lower.
There's $6.4 trillion in money markets. Yeah. 6.4 trillion. Not billion, trillion. That doesn't include CDs, that doesn't include bonds, and that doesn't include stock market.
Yeah, it's just you can harp on like these small little segments and make it sound bad, but when you look at it as a whole, overall, like the debt's being serviced, people have a lot of money in investments and these other funds. Also, I do want to draw a correlation to Pokemon, guys. So with the stock market, right? You need money to pour in. Like the values are always going up, so that means the entire market's expanding. With Pokemon, it's different. The market's actually always shrinking. And so everyone thinks you need all this money to continue to pour in. Let me explain this to you. Every time a box is ripped, those people spent that money on entertainment and ripping the packs. That money's now deleted from the market. It's no longer in the market cap. So every single day you see all these streamers opening boxes, the market cap of sealed product is going down. And so when people say, how do people have all this money to continue to spend on all this new product? Because the market cap is actually only expanding when a new set gets printed, and then it contracts as those boxes get ripped. Now look, the singles market, that's always expanding, and that's why I'm not as keen on investing in a lot of singles, but the sealed product is always contracting. And so you don't necessarily need large amounts of new money to continuously enter the market, because the market's always good is less. Does that make sense?
And to expand on what you said, the big thing about sealed product, and this is why I love sealed product, because I have no interest in Pokemon cards. So I can sit on this for 20 or 30 years and legitimately not care at all. Doesn't matter to me. Have no reason to rip it. Every day that goes by, every month that goes by, there's less of that sealed product once it goes out of print, because people are still ripping it. People are buying it. People are doing this. People are doing that. I'll sit on it for a decade if I have to, or 2 decades. I don't care. Eventually, there's going to be very limited quantities, and I'll be happy to sell at a huge profit. But once again, it goes back to time in the market. Time in Pokemon. Same thing. And you're not making any more sealed product. There are people sitting on a lot of cases of Evolving Skies right now.
And I think, I know it scares people. People the whole, like, there's more people investing now than there were. But in my mind, it actually makes me more comfortable. Just what you said right there. You can hold forever. You're well capitalized. You have other income. You have other investments, right? I think that's a positive for Pokemon, is more people like you getting into this hobby and investing, because you're going to handle the market a lot better than most of the newbies, most of the people just looking for the stonks, the people who are trying to flip and scalp and buy and trade and all that, because they're going to consistently sell into fear. They're going to consistently buy into FOMO, and it's going to have all these crazy ups and downs. Whereas in 5-10 years, most of that product will either be opened or work its way up to the whales and to like the more strategic investors. and they're not going to make all those stupid plays. And when they do sell, they're not going to just dump it on the market. They're going to slowly leak it out. They're going to maybe make private deals. They're going to make sure the market doesn't have an effect from their sale because they're not going to crash anything. Whereas someone else who isn't well capitalized and might come into a bad life event and need to dump everything, they're going to be a lot more likely to like completely crash a market because they don't understand how to handle it. And so I think it's better overall for the Pokemon community and all the investing community that more people like you and more from the outside are getting in investing in this stuff.
It is a great thing for the Pokemon market that more eyeballs are on it and people are taking it more seriously because it adds liquidity to it. And that's the biggest thing. You want liquidity in any market. Doesn't matter what market it is. You want liquidity. And when you have people that are willing to buy cases upon cases and it just gobbles everything up, it's very good. And it just goes back to sitting on these things. I think that these are going to be, as we've shown in the past, with all those charts that I've made, for some reason, these boxes outpace the S&P 500. I can't explain it. They just do. You've shown it on your things. I've showed it on your podcast. It is what it is. It just happens without fail. Every 4 to 6 years, that is the sweet spot where these boxes end up outpacing the S&P, and in many cases by quite a bit. So I'm happy buying and sitting on it. And I don't think anybody knows what's really going to happen with surging sparks. Is it going to be race to the bottom after the initial bump? Maybe, but that's why you dollar cost average. I'm buying some now, and if it goes down, I'll buy more. Like, I don't know. If I could predict the future, that would be amazing. I can't predict the future.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing. It's just like, again, always looking at the negative, right? Well, what if it drops? Then I buy more. Well, how about this? What if it goes up? What if it goes to $900 a case? Maybe I sell some. I bring my dollar cost average to a point where I literally can't lose anymore, down to like 500 a case or whatever. And now I'm sitting pretty forever. And now if more does drop, I'll buy more. And now my dollar cost average raises a little bit or it stays the same. But it's just like, people never think about that side. They're just so conditioned to think of the negatives.
Yeah, it's really odd that people only focus on the negatives rather than having a real plan. Because if you have a plan, you buy, let's just say you buy one case of something at 650 and it goes down to 600, you really didn't lose that much money. And you know that it's not going to go down much more. I mean, what did base get to? 520, 530 at one point, but it's pretty much back to 600 or so, if not more.
Yep.
So some of these other sets, if you get in at 650, 675, and you're able to sit on it for a couple of years, probably halfway good chance that you're going to do well on ROI basis.
I mean, it's the same thing anywhere. It's just like, it's that whole just the age-old thing of just like, get started, right? Just start putting money to work somewhere. Because I used to have this debate, and it's funny how it turned out to be right. But like at the time, I didn't, I predicted this, but I didn't know. But like when I started my YouTube channel, I had a lot of debates with a lot of different people, about Pokemon investing in general, about investing in modern sealed over like the older tried and true vintage slabs, like real scarce stuff. And like I told people, and they're like, well, it's all going to crash one day. I'm just like, look, you still have these bearish YouTubers saying this every single day, day in and day out. And it's like, how far are you going to kick the can down the road and say it's going to crash? Because guess what? You've already lost. Like people will say, well, I could be right one day. No, you're already wrong. You've already lost because the amount of money I've made in these past 3 years on the product, I could sell it all right now, have a zero cost basis and everything, already be up. And if it ends up crashing 50% somewhere down the road, I'm already more up than if I would have never invested at all. And so it's like, what you're fighting is, you're not fighting the fact that maybe in some, distant future, eventually it crashes. You're fighting the fact that how much could it increase? How many gains could you realize? How much could you be up before that day may or may not come? And it's just like, when you take all that into account, it just doesn't really make sense to have this doom and gloom mindset, because all you're going to do is keep kicking yourself for missing out.
This is not financial advice, what I'm about to say, but if you're truly worried about everything crashing, you probably shouldn't be investing in this.
100%.
That's all there is to it. Like, this should be, my opinion, money that you can live without. You are buying cardboard as an investment. At the end of the day, that is what you're doing. If you're worried about it going down, this probably isn't the safest thing to put your money in. For somebody like me, this is something on the side. It's interesting to me. I've done the research, and my
Well,
strategy.
take it to the stock market. Same thing. How
Yeah,
many
I mean,
people when they saw like Warren Buffett sell a bunch of stocks, I'm going to hold all my money in cash now. It's all going to crash. How much have you missed out on by doing that?
so I'm going to say something about that. Nobody else is Warren Buffett except for him. Berkshire Hathaway owns 80 or 90 companies in their enterprise companies. They own Geico, Fruit of the Loom, all these different insurance companies. They own See's Candy. I mean, the companies are endless of what they own. It's either Duracell or Energizer that they own. I mean, they own stuff that you wouldn't think that they would own, but they actually own the entire company. Buffett is one of those people that he very well may have raised cash because he wants to buy one more company before he passes away. So you can't look at him selling stocks as a signal that the market's going to crash. You have to look at the underlying fundamentals of the largest companies in the market and see what they're doing. You can't go by what one person does.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I said Buffett. I mean, I just meant in general, like people, seeing that or just hearing something else, like the wars, like just finding some little piece
Buffett's
of fear.
A great example because he took so much money out of the market that everybody went crazy.
Yeah.
For no reason.
And then just like, how things are, at all-time highs, people always show the S&P charts and like all these things, and then they compare them to like how things looked and other crashes or other downturns, and it makes people fear into like selling and holding cash, and then things continue to pump. And here's the issue with the whole thing, right? It's like if something goes from $5 to $10 and you get all scared, it just doubled. I want to take all my money out. I'm going to wait till it crashes. That could go to $15, $20 and then crash back down to 12. Well, guess what? You're still out of luck.
Got to have a plan. Nobody can time the markets. You have to have a plan. If you get up by X amount, do you exit the position? Do you take your cost basis out? Do you let it ride? You have to go into every investment with a plan and stick to that plan. You can change the plan along the way, but just going in blind, you can drive yourself crazy on what you should do. You should always have an objective. That's what I do. I have an objective with every investment that I make, so I don't drive myself crazy.
Yeah, and also like just the importance, like you said, of not going all in. Like be able to average in. Like don't go all in at one price point or at one time. Like have enough money to, if it does drop, you can take some money out. If it does go up, maybe you can sell some, reduce your cost basis. You still have some cash on the sidelines. Like being able to have, the liquidity and kind of the safety nets to kind of move around and shift with the market is going to be a lot better than saying, okay, I pick now. And then all of a sudden it drops the next day and you're like, that was all my money.
Yeah. And look, I have bought slabs just for the hell of it, stuff I research, but I really don't buy many slabs with Pokemon. I just buy boxes and cases and I build my own ETF with it because I don't know what's going to hit and what's not going to hit. Why is Twilight Masquerade going to these prices? Everybody thought it was a bum set. Everybody was making fun of it.
Dude, I get made fun of for investing in every set. Like I get made fun of for buying, base set and Obsidian Flames in these sets, right? No one in the world would have picked
right now.
I hear you. But no one in the world would have picked Twilight, right? If you were a set picker, you probably would have picked 151. You probably would have picked, maybe you could argue you would have picked Paradox or Temporal, but nobody would have picked Twilight Masquerade, and it's the highest performing set in the entire era. That's why set picking just doesn't work.
Think about Lost Origin. That went down to under 100 a box. And now it's at what, 220?
Chilling Reign, Fusion Strike, nobody wanted those sets.
The Fusion Strike, nobody wanted.
Nope.
So trying to pick sets is crazy. If you buy one, which is one box of each, you build an ETF out of it, one of them's going to hit. One of them's going to hit because if it mimics the past.
Here's the other thing I would say.
Big for everything to go to zero, I think. At this point.
I mean, Steve, think about this, man. Think of every single mutual fund out there, right? And every index, right? You can't find a single one of them without a loser, right? Can't find a single one without losers. Okay. When you take into account like Sword and Shield era, the worst that you've done in the past 4 years is like Battle Styles. You're up like 36, 30, 35, 40%. Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze, you're up like 40, 50% on those boxes. That's the worst in your entire ETF. If you told someone that on Wall Street, they'd think you're crazy. They say you're lying. That's crazy. Because every single mutual fund, every single index all has losers in it. The big winners pay for the losers. The Evolving Skies is supposed to pay for the losers, although there are no losers, so it just raises it even more. And the same has been said for every single era. It's like the worst you do is make a little bit of money instead of more money. You haven't lost anything on any of these boxes. That's the crazy part about this.
Yeah, so I got a bid running out in 30 seconds.
Okay, go for it. Hit it.
Into it.
No, there's another. I'll hit another point. So,
so I just became the high bidder on something, and I don't know if I should increase I might as well at this point. I'm in it for this much. Let's increase it.
But I was gonna hit on one more point in Pokemon. Oh yeah, here's the other thing I was gonna hit on with Pokemon. Like compare it to like mutual funds and things. So I talk about this all the time, but you know this is true too. No, you got cut.
I think I just lost it. I should have went higher. Damn it.
Hey, Twist Gloomy, thanks so much for becoming a member. Connor, appreciate you gifting memberships. Anyone who got a membership from Connor, make sure you thank him, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Oh, I won.
You got it.
Nice.
No, but I always talk about this. It's like, because it's cardboard, right? No one takes it serious. But if you were to just put it on a line item on something to invest in, like a 401k, right? People wouldn't even know it, and they would buy it every single time. Because here's what happens on a 401k if you guys don't know. They hand you a sheet of paper, whether it be, Fidelity, Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, whatever it is, and they have a ton of different funds. They got their small cap, mid cap, large cap. They got their growth. They've got their, usually like technology fund, a foreign fund, an index, and whatever, right? And all people do is they go down the sheet, they see how it's performed over the last 1 year, 5 years, 10 years max, and they pick things. Basically, try to like spread their money out between 3 or 4 funds, and they pick things based on the performance. Nobody digs into those funds and looks exactly what each one is holding. No one digs through all the holdings and all the stocks in each one of those funds. If you literally threw a Pokemon fund on there and showed how a modern steel product has performed in the past 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, you would literally have people clicking that as one of their investments every time. That's how crazy it is. Let that sink in.
So I may have just done something very stupid or very dumb.
What's that?
The Yankees better win the World Series at this point.
Wait, are you going to get crushed?
Well, but I just bought something that could go boom if the Yankees win. Very happy about this purchase. Very happy.
I like it.
But look, the returns in the past do not mean that the returns are going to happen in the future. But there is so much demand for these products that it is hard to believe that boxes are going to go to 70 or 80 under where the large retailers are paying. I mean, that's the way I look at it, that the floor is really their cost basis. And when I say the people that are buying 5, 10,000 cases, 20,000 cases and selling them. So that's really the floor. And we've only seen that happen a couple of times. And they've all bounced back. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting. And I think next year is going to be very interesting because of this whole team up stuff. And supposedly the team up stuff was really big back in the day. So maybe people really go after that stuff. I mean, it's an interesting time.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like, I just feel like everything in the world is based on past data. Like everything. I mean, it's why you have the insurance rates you do. It's why, real estate's worth what it is. It's like, people don't look at a home and say, well, it looks like this area could go down in 10 years. So I'm not going to value it at that. It's just like, no, that's not how it works. It's like, there's 10 houses around here that have sold for this price right now. This is what the house is worth. Like, it's just like the same thing with Pokemon. It's just like, we have 10 years now of modern sealed data. We've never seen a box like drop and sit below $100 for more than, 3 to 5 years at a time. and every single box has moved up 100% of the time. It's just like, if you look at all that data and then you say, no, I think it's all going to drop and go. It's like, well, what is that based on? Just like your own mind's like, what exactly? That's what I think people need to do more, is actually come up with reasons on why they feel that way, and not just like some idea they grabbed out of thin air.
Can't listen to those people.
But I want like a real argument. People ask me all the time.
You can't reason with crazy.
I know people always want me to have like certain YouTubers on. They'll throw names at me. I'm not going to mention names here, but like they're like, hey, you need to have this guy on. You need to have this guy on. And I'm just like, and I tell them the same thing. I go, why? I go, we're going to have the same conversation. They're going to have the same argument of kicking the can down the road and saying eventually in the future this is going to happen. I'm going to ask them why that's going to happen, and they're going to give me the same reason they gave me 7 years ago when they said Sun and Moon wouldn't be investable like XY was, and then Sword and Shield wouldn't be investable like Sun and Moon was, and then everyone was out on Scarlet and Violet and said it would nowhere near. I'm going to stop. I had people tell me they were going to stop investing in Pokemon at Scarlet and Violet. They're going to direct all their money to Sword and Shield. It's over. Like this happens every era.
Well, the other thing is you have a blueprint. You have a process, and you've done pretty well with that process, and you have the profits to show for it. So it's pretty hard to argue that what you're doing doesn't work. It's actually impossible to argue that. So you can't reason with crazy. You just got to try to figure out how to maximize your gains. And I can't pick sets, but I think that this is a healthy market. And when I see the pre-orders of Surging Sparks increase like this, that tells me that the amount of demand is exceeding the supply. Otherwise, these people would not be increasing the pre-order demand.
What is your take on two things? One, we're seeing Pokemon seem to use speaking of the GameStop thing, they're starting to use like bigger suppliers more than it seems like distribution. We haven't got any reprints yet of anything past Scarlet Violet base, and we got that small restock of Paldea Evolved, right? And you see enormous amounts of product being moved through MJ Holdings, being moved to Costco and Sam's Club and Walmart, and all these different websites and physical stores, and little to none coming down the pipeline for reprints and restocks on the product. Like, what do you think Pokemon's doing with that? Do you have any ideas?
I mean, so I wouldn't know the answer to the question I'm going to ask. Could it be that they're making less booster boxes and they're packaging stuff in more of the different products to utilize those bigger outlets, because those outlets don't sell booster boxes? So are they making
100%.
Products specifically for Costco that they know are going to sell at a $24.99 price point when people are walking down the aisles? Are they selling specific products to Target and Walmart because they know that the booster boxes aren't going to sell? That could really be what it is, because you have to know your demographic. You have to know your clientele.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has something to do with it, because again, it may be because that there's less demand for those items through distributors and stores, and people like me aren't ordering them as much. But I will say, although there were huge shortages on booster boxes, there were no shortages on other products. You can get ETBs, you can get sleeve blisters, you can get collection boxes. So it does seem like there's a lot of Surging Sparks packs out there. There's just not as many booster boxes, which means Pokemon is found a way to make sure the kids get their cards, the game players get their cards, but the collectors and investors now have a product that is more limited, is not being as printed as much, that now they can buy, which is a booster box. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Because we've already seen that it doesn't matter if they print these loose packs in a bunch of different items. It doesn't seem to affect the booster boxes long term. Like the perfect example of that was when they reprinted that Arceus box, and they had tons of Cosmic Eclipse packs in them. And the Cosmic Eclipse booster box didn't crash. And so the price per pack went down, but the booster box stayed the same, because the values in the sealed box is not as much in the price per pack or the price per card, which is a big deal.
So I'm going on TCG Player right now, and I cannot believe that a case of Twilight Masquerade is going for $9.25. I cannot believe it.
You got to love those 60% gains in a few months, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're saying the market price for an individual box is $165 on here, which it was great. The Garatina, or whatever you pronounce this thing, market price is 305, and that's raw. But so here's my question. How is it
you're talking about the Greninja,
whatever it is. Shows you how much I care.
I love how you don't even know what it is, but you're buying it. I love it.
No, because I go by the research and the numbers. Why do I need to know what these things are?
Dude, I'm telling you, I love it. I'm all for it. Now, like the hardcore people in this industry, they hate that, but I love it.
Good for them. They can hate all they want. That's not going to stop me. I mean, the Pokemon cabal can't stop me. They can't stop whoever I'm buying from selling to me. Good luck with that.
That's so funny.
It's all free markets. But so how does this get decided that this card is the card of all cards versus the other sets?
That's the $1 million question, man.
And that's
the
why
collectors.
you buy every box. That's exactly why you buy every box, because nobody could have known that this card would have done that and drove the whole box up.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, like, if you're trying to be a set picker, you're probably going to end up being about the same as someone who doesn't. Like, maybe you can edge them out a little bit. It's kind of like being a stock picker compared to just buying a good mutual fund or an index. It's like, yeah, you might be able to edge them out. Most people don't win, but it's just like, it doesn't make sense. It's just you're trying to do all this fancy footwork, getting too cute with it, when it's just like, dude, just buy every set. Just buy every set.
I mean, it's worked in the past.
Yeah, so the other thing I wanted to touch on with the whole, like, kind of what's going on with the hobby is, what do you think Pokemon's plan here is with seemingly not printing as much? Like, we haven't got reprints yet, and it's already like middle of October, end of October.
How do we know that they just didn't print it all on the first run when they had all the equipment going, they don't have tons of boxes just sitting in warehouses ready to hit the market?
Good question.
You don't know.
What do you think? What do you think? Like their plan though is with not releasing any of it. Like, we've been going this long, none of the major sets that you thought, like Paldea and 151 and Twilight, like, have had massive reprints, and so.
But we don't know that they're not releasing it.
What I'm saying is, how are they? Because they're not realizing that income for the year for their balance sheets to show that they've been more profitable or whatever for their shareholders.
Who is Pokemon owned by?
Nintendo.
Okay. A couple million here, a couple million there, doesn't matter to them. They're playing a long game with this, where they are.
Well, they're still wanting to show growth, though.
I get that. But once again, when you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry, Nintendo, I think, makes tens of billions of dollars on revenue. I don't remember what their profitability is. A couple million here, a couple million there, doesn't really matter when they can play a long game and feed it into the market unsuspiciously, and it just gets gobbled up. They don't have to hit it with a full restock and crash the prices. It's probably better for them if they don't do it, and it's a slow bleed at that point, because they're probably able to get it sold for higher prices, not doing a full all-in send where they're just going, pallets by pallets instead of trucks by trucks.
Yeah. No, I mean, you could be right. It's just, I know, like, even I'm a little confused about the shortage of product that we've seen. And maybe we're just seeing a larger demand than people are realizing, right? Maybe.
But hold on. Is there a shortage of product? Have you been able to get everything you want? I mean, everybody's been able to buy whatever they really wanted to buy.
Oh, yeah. Well, 151s definitely seem short.
At the beginning, you could have bought whatever you wanted at 151.
You could have. You're right.
You could have bought it. How do you know that everything didn't get snapped up?
I agree. I mean, that's another thing. Like, we've been seeing tons of drops through GameStop and Walmart and Pokemon Center. And so it's like, you see more 151 product hit the market. It's just, are you in the right place at the right time to grab it type thing?
Here's the big difference between Pokemon and the sport card market. Sport card market has serialized cards. They have autograph cards. They have patch cards. 1 of 1s, 1 of 10s, 1 of 50, 1 of 500, that type of stuff. That is predominantly what people are really going after now in the sports card market. I just purchased the 1 of 10 Aaron Judge triple relic autograph card on eBay. I'm not going to say how much. Wasn't cheap. Basically, when you have boxes being opened and those cards are in the wild on Sports Card, you know what's out there. You know if there's still stuff in the boxes or not. Pokemon, you don't. So there's really no way to know because there are not serialized cards hitting the market. So you have no idea what's been pulled, what hasn't been pulled. There's no way to track it.
Yeah, other than PSA population reports, but that's just
population reports that's in. You don't know who's sending stuff in and who's not.
Yeah, and that's just what's graded.
That's just what's graded.
Yeah. No, I mean,
this is a market that is very inefficient, but with inefficiency comes opportunity. And I do think that there's a lot of opportunity. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if Surging Sparks gets to 180.
That's what I said. I said if we don't hear at least news of a restock reprint coming or a restock reprint in the first 3 to 6 months, it's going to be a $200 booster box. There's no way to stop it.
People are going to say, I missed Twilight Masquerade. And be like, I got to go get this set. I can't miss out. And that's probably what's happening right now. And that's probably why there's so much demand, because people missed Twilight Masquerade. So they're trying to make it up on this one. And they see the price starting to move, and that's validation in their crazy minds.
Yeah, it's almost, I think I made this this take one time on a video where it's almost like if a grocery store opened up one day and they only stocked the shelves like, a 10th full, and then, all the shelves were completely bare and everyone had all the food gone by like noon. That next day, the lines would be like packed out around the building because they were thinking it's going to be short again, right? And I think Pokemon could be going through something similar to where, they're not releasing all the product they printed maybe at release, and then they're slowly just like leaking onto the market through all these different channels. And it's causing people to be like fiends having to pick it up because they're in that scarcity mindset of there's not going to be enough to go around. There's not going to be more coming. I better get it now.
And think about this. Costco. How many crazy things have we seen at Costco that have packs of Brilliant Stars or packs of this or packs of that in it?
A lot.
They could be feeding things to those types of products instead of doing booster boxes. It would make complete sense because they're probably going to sell a lot more because a parent is probably more inclined to spend $24.99 or $34.99 on something from Costco than go spend $120, $140, $150 on a booster box.
How's the sports card market compare?
It's so ridiculous.
Is it all just kind of like hitting that lottery ticket? Is it completely different?
I don't understand why these cards are worth so much money. I don't understand why there's so much demand for these cards. I don't understand who the hell is buying these cards. It is no longer something for kids to do. It is crazy. When I see a QB patch auto card going for 12 grand and they've been in the league for 2 years, like, what are we doing here? I don't understand it. I just don't get it. It is just, the sports card market is so crazy right now with how much money is actually in it and what these cards are going for. It makes zero sense. It is like it's not even real anymore. I mean, look, you walked around Collecticon. You had to have seen, and you've been to a lot of these shows, you have to see these obscene prices for these cards.
Absolutely.
It makes no sense.
And I've seen people buying them.
Yeah. Who is walking around with 100 or 200 grand in cash if they don't have security with them is out of their minds.
And you'd be surprised. They're there.
I would not be surprised. I know they're there. I've seen it.
Yep.
Like, I'm planning on going to a show next weekend. I'm going with like 8 people. I mean, it's just, I see people walking around with ridiculous amounts of money with, it doesn't look like they have security or anybody with them. It's just, I don't know. The sports card market is insane.
I mean, that goes to a whole different point about people like almost losing all sense, all street smarts, thinking that like it's okay to walk around with these large amounts of cash and like this like feeling of safety. It's like, why do you think you're safe? Because they post some freaking, 60-year-old out of weight security guard up front and he's going to protect someone if they want to steal your money and run with it. Like, People have no, like, they're so crazy at like the cards they let people see and give out, the money they walk around with, and they have this idea that, oh yeah, I'll be all right. It's truly amazing. I think I'm a lot more aware of my surroundings and those types of things, and probably 99% of people at these events.
You have to be, and quite honestly, I wouldn't. Here's why. Also, I don't understand. Nobody has eyes in the back of their heads. Nobody knows who's watching them buy one of these cards and then follow them out. It makes zero sense. And quite honestly, unless it's something really big, I would rather buy on eBay.
Yeah.
For that exact reason.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's a whole other thing that people like don't. eBay's always gets the short end of the stick. It's FeeBay, it's this and that. I want to try and dodge the fees or dodge the taxes, dodge this, and it's just like eBay provides so much.
Safety.
Yeah, eBay provides so much more than like
so much. The bottom line is, you go to a show, you don't know if you're being followed out, you don't know if somebody sees you pull a wad out, you don't know if somebody notices you buying something, you don't know any of that. I'm going for a very specific reason, because there's something that I want that I don't want to buy through eBay. But I am going to try to make a deal where I can buy it off-site type thing. Hopefully I find a vendor that has a shop. I can say, listen, I promise I'm going to buy this. I'll follow you back to the shop. I just don't want to buy it here. But it's something I want to buy and put in a safety deposit box and hold for 10 years as an investment. But I really wouldn't feel comfortable bringing that level of cash to a show, even going with 8 people. Because they're not going to be with me when I go home. So,
no,
it's just that the amount of money going to these shows is insane. And the people making vlogs about spending this money is even crazier. It's even crazier.
Yeah, it's wild. It's for so many reasons. I don't want to get into all that. It's crazy putting all that stuff in the public, but
like all my expensive stuff is in a safety deposit box. Like, good luck getting that.
I hear you, man. Like, I don't know. Maybe these people were raised differently or in very safe. I don't know.
They live their lives online.
Yeah. I mean, I try to have eyes in the back of my head. My head's always on a swivel. I'm always thinking about things like, and I can handle myself, but you can't handle yourself against 3 to 5 guys. You can't handle yourself against a gun gets pulled on you. And it's just like, I think about all those things, especially if you're with your wife and you're not with a group. Like, I just think people don't think about these things. It's uncomfortable to talk about these things, but they have to be talked about, because we're seeing thefts start to rise. We're seeing this stuff happen, and it's just like, shops get broken into. This is the reality of life, people. You can say it shouldn't happen or whatever, and then we can shun all these people, but it happens, right? We got to live in the real world, and you have to take precautions to make sure this doesn't happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I wish the level of security it shows was greater. I really do. It is what it is, but doesn't change the fact that this is an expanding market across the board. And I think the whole YouTube scene and social media scene is helping drive it forward. And there's a lot of money going into this.
The breaking culture, I believe, is the single biggest thing that's going to drive this market into the stratosphere. I mean, it's night and day. It's 24/7. I mean, there's these networks that employ streamers to stream for them all hours of the day. And not only that, you can log on to these streams and there's people there buying all hours of the day.
You got Whatnot. I mean, it's
kind of scary. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I get Pokemon's printing all these cards. They're being ripped as fast as they can print them.
So I'm going to send you, I don't think I sent it to you. Jeff Wilson did a show. It was on somebody else's stream, but it was at Cards HQ. And he said the number one thing that sells at his shop is TCG. And he's a sports card guy. I think his shop is 16 or 18,000 square feet. They put TCG in the front. TCG is the biggest seller at his store.
Didn't the PSA CEO say something about TCG being their highest graded?
Said the same thing. It's the most graded thing right now at PSA.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's never been a thing in the history of.
Never been a thing. It was always comic books at CGC, and then it went to cards, but not at this level. Now, I mean, The fact that PSA is grading over 300,000 items a week is nuts. It's nuts. And that's
What?
even more validation that people are ripping to grade, or they're buying raw to grade. And that also fuels it because you know what? Where do you rip? Packs. Packs come from different products. Booster boxes are a big thing. I mean, with sports cards, hobby boxes are a big thing because you have a guaranteed auto and relic cards instead of your regular retail boxes. So there's different levels of stuff. And there's probably a better chance of pulling stuff out of a booster box than blister packs or something like that. So, yeah, booster
Hey, what's
boxes
your
make
take?
a lot of sense to me.
What is your take on Pokemon not having those types of levels of rarity cards? Like you see it in other TCGs, you see it in Magic now with serialized, you see it in One Piece, you see it in Lorcana, and you see these cards that are worth thousands of dollars. Pokemon's never done it. Huh?
Rudy made a really good point.
Okay.
It was either Rudy or RNG Games.
Okay.
It could have been Rob.
Okay.
It could have been Rob. One of them said, Magic does a very good job at dispersing value throughout the boxes in most of their sets. Whereas Pokemon, if you buy to rip, you're almost always going to lose money because there's only one really big card that fuels the set. Whereas the value isn't so top heavy in Magic. So I don't know. I don't buy to rip, I buy to hold, so I haven't experienced it.
Yeah.
But
all right, let's take a couple questions. All right, we got what does the future hold for GameStop grading mass consumer buying Pokemon world? What's a year outlook with all the new context? So basically, I guess he's asking what this is going to do to the PSA slab market if that many people have access to grading now than ever.
It's going to make PSA hire more people. I can tell you that much.
I mean, man. I mean, obviously, like maybe there'll be more cards on the market than there were before because more people are likely to grade because there's less of a it's less gate kept, I guess you could say. It's more accommodating. But at the same time,
I think it's good for the market, and here's why. Unless you buy a jeweler loop and go to shows and you play that game of arbitrage with buying raw to flip, it puts everybody on the same playing field. You know that PSA 10 is a PSA 10 when you're going to buy something. Whereas if you buy one card raw and you buy two of them, one could come back in 8, one could come back in 9. So I think it's actually better for the hobby with more stuff being graded because it puts everybody on the same playing field for stuff they want to buy.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. Like, and here's the thing: the hobby's growing at this much of a rate. I mean, it can handle more supply. I mean, I feel like we can handle more supply if they're continuing to rise at the rates they are. I mean, we've seen. I don't know if you've paid attention that the 151 Charizard is literally in like a couple weeks went from like $400 a card to over $700 a card. I mean, so, and this is a card with over 8,000 in existence in a 10. So it's like the populations are high. The demand's there. There's enough demand to raise a card that quick, that fast, that much. So it's just like, hey, I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal as people are making it out to be, but we'll see.
Well, and you got to go back to a point that you made last year or the year before where people need to get used to larger population reports.
Yes.
It's very common. I mean, look at Kobe Bryant rookie cards or Ken Griffey Jr. rookie cards. They're the most graded cards in existence. Population reports, having 10,000 PSA 10s for really in-demand things is not uncommon. It was Rob. Okay.
It was Rob.
Yeah,
well, here's the other thing. These conflicting statements that people make all the time, they don't realize they're making them. One of them is always with me. They always tell me, Alex, you're only here for the money. And then I'll literally see the same person in the comments saying something like, after eBay fees and shipping and taxes, you don't make any money. And I'm just like, I'm looking at like Bane from Batman. I'm just like, well, then why am I here then? Like, why are all you people here then? It's just like, if no one's making money, but we're only here for the money, something's off. And the same thing goes.
I'm only here for the money.
Right. But it's just like, it's so contradicting in that way. And so I don't know. I just feel like there's so many statements that are contradictory in this hobby that it's just like, you can't have it both ways.
No, you can't. And I don't know.
I mean,
So I
that's the other one I wanted to get to. It's like with the PSA thing. It's like, so at one point people are saying the hobby's growing, there's more demand than ever, but then they're saying the population reports are too high. It's just like, well, there's more demand than ever, so wouldn't that mean the population reports need to be higher to meet that demand? You see what I'm saying?
yes.
It doesn't make sense. Like, you have to have, if the population reports weren't high, if 151 Charizard was graded as much as like a vintage Charizard, it would probably be worth close to as much as a vintage Charizard because of the demand for it. You'd see that thing going for tens of thousands of dollars if you had like 100 in existence. It's just the way it is.
I want to get a pop report for something. Gemrate has the most graded cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so yeah. Scroll down on Gemrate. Yesterday there was 19,647 TCG cards graded.
Where we find it? Oh, there it is.
Like that. TCG is becoming the most graded thing there is.
By a lot.
By a lot. It's not even close.
Wow.
It is not even close.
I mean, here's what people need to look at. Like, this is what I try to tell people, like, trying to, like, guys, CGC, it's like a non-existent in the market. It's not even 10% of what PSA is doing in a week. Like, CGC's month is like less than half PSA's week. I mean, it's such a non-existent. These are all just like non-existent at this point compared to PSA.
And here's the other thing. So if you go to the next, scroll down and go to trending players and subjects, right there. So go to the top and filter it by graded all time.
What am I filtering it by?
Just click on
okay.
Actual graded all time and do it one more time. What's number 2 and 3? Charizard and Pikachu.
There it is.
Smack
wow, that's actually Charizard's gonna top Jordan.
Smack in the middle of Jordan and Griffey.
And that's gonna top Jordan because Jordan's. I mean, I guess they're still making Jordan cards. Never mind.
Yeah, but not nearly as many.
Yeah. Well, you can see right here, it's down 6%. Charizard's up 2%, and well, I guess Griffey's up too, though. Interesting.
So, TCG has come a long way, and I think it's only going to get bigger. And I think that the amount of demand warrants what is being graded. I really do. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think there's a lot of good plays.
Let's see. My take is supply isn't short. Demand is so high that Pokemon is spreading the butter to hit all parties. They are acquiring new customers, so they aim to deliver to everyone. Same pie, more slices.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we talked about going through different outlets, Costco, Target, different types of products. I mean, they have to make those different types of products. And I know people complain when they have distribution that they just want to sell boosters, but not everybody's buying boosters. So there's a reason for those other products because Costco's not selling those, but they get pallets of the other stuff.
Yeah, and I agree. This is kind of a fun one because this is what like Magic does, right? If the next era they do a few sets of Pokemon did a collab with another IP, wouldn't that sell like crazy? I don't know if they would do it like another IP, maybe like an IP within Nintendo, kind of how they did with Mario, Luigi, Pikachu. If they started to do like collab, like sets that were kind of designed off of like another Nintendo like universe, that'd be pretty crazy.
Could be.
I mean, I know Magic sets do very well. Like those universes beyond, like some are hit or miss, but the ones that hit, man, they hit hard.
So it's funny, like Magic does the collector boxes, and I know RNG has said that he's gotten smashed on some of these products.
Yep.
It's not easy doing it, but that's the difference between having a store and not having a store. You don't have to take everything.
Yeah.
But it's collector boxes. Would Pokemon do good with that? I don't know. No, Magic.
We got someone asking about your exit plan, man. He said you should go into everything with a plan. Great point. What is the strategy to plan to liquidate?
Oh, plan to liquidate's pretty easy. Hold 5-10 years, hit the price point I want it to hit, and then I'll either go to a specific place that I already have connections with, and if I'm still interested in doing this, trade in for new product. I mean, that was always kind of the original plan. Buy a couple of cases of everything and take one case after 3 or 5 years, trade in for 2 or 3 cases of something else, et cetera, snowball effect, or just straight up liquidate it. So there's different.
I'm going to go ahead and answer that question for everybody right here. Probstein.
Listen, Probstein has him or DC Sports Cards has the best pricing on consignment.
Put it this way: if you're holding the case for 5 to 10 years, well, all the 5 to 10-year-old cases they're over $1,000, meaning you're going to be paying 5% fees, guys. That's with eBay fees included. That's shipping included. They charge you 5% to move your cases.
Probstein takes care of everything for you.
So there's your exit plan, guys. Just ship it all to Probstein. Here, throw it all in the back of a U-Haul, drive it to Probstein. They'll do all the work for you. They'll send you a check for 95%, and you can just wipe your hands clean.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you look at Probstein's auctions on eBay, they usually go above market.
Oh, yeah. He's got a huge distribution list. I'm bidding on a couple of things he's got going on right now. They're in Jersey. I mean, it's not far.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of wild. Like, let me ask you to think what your kind of take on that. What do you think of the rise of these consignment services?
I think they're great.
Yeah, I mean, like, and especially as they grow, they're starting to negotiate fees with eBay and get their own fees down, which they're able to offer you lower fees. Like, literally, it costs you more to sell it yourself, and you still have to take all the time to list it and take pictures and deal with customers and shipping. And it's like, it literally costs you more and more time to do it yourself now.
Yeah, I would rather give it to a consignment place to do for me.
And they're going to have a larger customer base. They have more followers. They do the work for you, and you're going to get a better price. It's like, again, this is like a good thing for the hobby. I can't see any bads here.
The money that you are paying in fees to Probstein and the shipping to get it to him is worth it for the simple fact that eBay fees would be 13.5%, I think.
Yep.
If you did it on your own.
Yep.
It pays for itself, and you don't have to do anything.
Not to mention you package everything up in one shipment instead of ship every single thing to every individual buyer.
And he's got a very good reputation.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't be worried about sending him stuff that has significant value.
Well, and think about this. Like, you got to think about the issues with sales, right? Customer gets it, try to file a complaint. File a complaint against you if you have a smaller seller, or file a complaint against Probstein. eBay is much more likely to side with Probstein.
That's why my original plan was to do a domino effect with buying cases, trading them in down the road, getting more cases, holding them, trading those in, keep going. So I didn't have to deal with that. But with outlets like Probstein and some other outlets that we have, it's pretty easy to liquidate. And you could even, if you really want to, which I would not do, but you can always set up a booth at a show. I wouldn't, because I would not feel comfortable doing that, but could.
Yeah, I mean, or, obviously reach out to someone like me or other YouTubers, other stores that buy, these types of things. They're not going to offer you full price, but I mean, again, if you're getting 80, 85%, it's basically what you're going to get after fees and shipping anyway. So
you're still going to do well on your investment.
Yep.
I mean, all you need to do, the S&P 500 goes up on average since 1957, 10.8% a year. That's the average annual return. Every $100 goes up $11. I mean, if you're beating that in Pokemon, you're doing pretty good. You don't need quadruples or 5x. So the numbers make sense for me to have these as alternative assets. And look, my plan's simple. Buy cases. I don't know what's going to go up. I don't know what's going to go down. I buy every set.
Right.
I have stuff sitting in a storage unit. The only stuff I have here is either stuff I just bought from eBay that hasn't gone to the storage unit or the safe deposit yet, and stuff that I'm sending out to grade, which is very minimal stuff.
Well, how's life in general, man? How's things up there in New York? How's
Dude,
the business, the job, all that?
dude, the market's going great. That's all that matters. You didn't
All that
listen.
matters.
I wish you had listened. I wish you had listened.
He was trying to give me some actual investment advice, and I did not take his investment advice, and I did not buy. Should I say it?
You know, no, but it's something that is up. Hold on.
It's
So
over
what I
100%.
did,
It's over
what I did, is
100% from what you told me.
I told him I was buying a lot of something,
Yeah.
and year to date it's up 150.26%.
It hurts. It hurts. I mean, my 151's doing pretty good close to that, but like that hurts. That hurts. I'm not going to lie to you.
There'll be more.
I'm just going to throw all my money in GameStop, though. It's okay. You sold me on it.
No, I'm not investing in GameStop. I want to see what they do, and I want to see how this plays out, because I think that they're really going to do something big with this. And I think it's going to be very good for everybody who's investing in Pokemon, because it gives another avenue of liquidity. And the number one thing everybody should want is more liquidity in the market. That's the most important thing. Liquidity, liquidity, liquidity.
Dude, everyone's calling you out in the chat. Look at that.
I don't have the chat open.
Oh,
What are they saying?
you can see it.
What? Oh, somebody. Yeah, look at these guys.
They know, dude. They know.
Look at
the
these
secret's out.
Yeah,
That's
it may or may not be PLCR. It may or may not be.
I want to because we talked about it before. Ryan Conan, he doesn't have any track record in any type of collectible TCG business. Like, I'd like to see GameStop, and maybe they have, maybe we just don't know, but like bring other top advisors, or at least like some other people in like some C-suite roles or something, that have an idea about the collectible or TCG markets.
You know that he already called Ruben. You know that there's already a deal with Fanatics in place. This isn't stopping at TCG. They're going to do a full Tops line. Ruben wants nothing more than more eyeballs. He wants to 10x the hobby. It is great for Ruben and Fanatics if GameStop becomes a shop and they become a huge supplier to GameStop. I think that the deals are being made now, and we're going to see something very big in 2025.
What is
Now,
that?
if it turns a profit, that's a different story. And that's why I'm not investing, because I don't know if they're going to be profitable doing this, but I think they have the footprint and the capital to make this a profitable venture. And no, it's becoming a full 360 vertically integrated card shop and cross branding with video games, because the clienteles are pretty similar.
The only thing that like I'm trying to put my finger on is, a lot of the locations all are fit that same, square footage model. Most of them, they're going to have to like somehow change storefronts to be able to have space for tournaments and tables, or would those just be like specific locations, I guess?
It could be specific locations, but what is closing stores? Walgreens. Walgreens is pretty big compared to a GameStop store. You could have GameStop get rid of some of their smaller locations, or locations that doesn't have as good of foot traffic, and take over some larger locations that Walgreens is getting rid of, or another company, and have one larger location every 50 miles or something like that. And that's where they do their tournaments and everything. There's answers to those problems.
Yeah. So maybe every store isn't like an actual like play location.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be. But they can have one store every 50 miles or whatever it is for that, and have their tournaments there. And then they can do regionals and nationals and all that stuff at bigger venues.
I mean, I'm excited about it. I mean, I get both sides of it, right? I get like, big business. A lot of people don't like big business. It's better when it's split up. And I agree with that a lot of the times. But I do think it is good for the TCG hobby to have sort of like something as a hub to where it's, a wide known where like anyone that watches any of these YouTube channels can literally, like, your parents can take them with their kids, or they can drive up and they can go to a place that like is kind of universally a universal card shop, instead of like trying to Google Maps all these different places and trying to like go find them in these weird strip malls and like these back alley areas and like going in, and it's like, they're unorganized. It's like going into a GameStop. Every retail location is going to be laid out the same way. You're going to be able to buy the same products from every single place. And I don't know. I just think it's an overall positive. I can't see a negative here.
There's a lot to be said for the trust factor. There's a lot to be said for the branding. And when you think about conventions, GameStop has the ability to blow it out of the water, because they don't have to stop at TCG and sports. They can do video games. They can do so much. Like, I'm surprised that GameStop isn't doing full-blown video game tournaments. I'm very surprised at that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna throw this out there. Like, this kind of goes down the rabbit hole a little. I don't know how much time you got, but this goes down the rabbit hole a little further. Okay. In terms of why a lot of card shops aren't successful, is they're undercapitalized. So Eli, who I do my live stream with every week on his channel, Pokemon USA, he's told me that multiple card shops in his area, he's able to outcompete them because he's got cash to buy a lot of these collections, a lot of these cards that they've turned down. Like, he's had tons of customers tell him, this place, that place, this place turned me down. They said they couldn't afford a collection this big. And that's one thing GameStop can already come to the market and just wipe all the smaller people out that are undercapitalized. Not only that, a lot of these card shop owners, the smaller ones, right? The ones that are successful, doing well, they're making good money. A lot of these card shop owners, they don't make six figures, much less 60, 80 grand sometimes. So bringing one of those guys in and having them run the TCG section of a GameStop or whatever, and being able to now take in every single trade on everything. And so now you have infinite amount of capital. Anyone can bring anything there to trade in. They got the PSA, they got the tournaments, they got all of that. They got the expertise of now old card shop owners that are getting paid a salary of what they used to make running their business, but they no longer have to. And they were going to go out of business anyway because of GameStop. I just see all this consolidating to a lot better experience for the buyer.
It could. It definitely could. And that's an interesting take on it. And I didn't think about it like that. It would make a lot of sense. And the smaller shops are not going to be able to compete with the GameStop because, like you said, they don't have the ability to purchase. If you don't have the ability to purchase, people aren't going to come back. People aren't going to want to do business with you. So GameStop has that ability. And if GameStop has an official thing, we pay 80% of comp or whatever it is, you know walking in the door what you're going to get. No haggling, no nothing. You know what it is. And you know
and here's the thing, they're paying out. They're paying out like cash and Venmo and stuff for this stuff. Like, could you imagine? Like, you know why people bring all these crazy collections and stuff to shows, right? To these collecticons. It's so they can find actual buyers for these things. Like, could you imagine if GameStop could buy all of these old things and they had like people who could actually authenticate the stuff and pay for it? Could you imagine being able to bring a $50,000 collection to GameStop and have them buy it?
Yes.
Instead of having to go to a show or having to try to sell it online, like, I mean, employing people who are TCG experts at these stores and paying them a good salary.
And GameStop has an online marketplace already for cards.
Yeah, I mean, because I think people, I understand like the criticism. It's always like, oh, these GameStop employees, they know nothing. It's like a fast food employee. It's just like, maybe some of the employees now are just like regular minimum wage, whatever, and they're not really well trained. But imagine them reimagining this entire business and treating it more like a TCG card shop and less like just some, minimum wage retail position. That's all I'm saying. Like, guys, things can change. You can't just lock into this, like, this stuck mindset. Things can evolve.
And think about this. They pioneered the secondary market for video games. That was the majority of their business, was people trading in video games or buying used games. What are cards? Used products. It's going to be the same thing. There is no reason why they cannot pioneer a national secondary market for cards. There's no reason they can't do it. They've already done it once. It's the same exact blueprint, just different product.
Well, and the funny part is it's like people use, eBay prices or TCG player prices. Guys, these aren't Pokemon. This isn't Magic, right? These companies had nothing to do with these marketplaces, but you use those marketplaces to determine the market price of these items. Why can't GameStop be that eventually?
Yeah, I mean, of course they can.
Of course.
Oh, and that's the only downside to the whole hobby, and why I say it's an inefficient market, because you have so many. What price comp do you use? Well, it's sold on
It sucks. It
Heritage for
sucks.
this, or it's sold on Golden for this, and sold on eBay for this, and then dealer has it for this, and blah 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 blah. There's no price point.
I mean,
Like,
we've had hours of conversations trying to.
I wish there was a way to make it efficient. There's no way to make it efficient.
If they could ever find a way to make this hobby efficient like the stock market,
Yeah.
that would truly be a game changer.
You can't. Because stock market, you have to buy and sell on one market. There are card shows every week. There are card shops open every day. There are I can't sell you stock privately. I can sell you a card privately. There's no way to fix the market to be efficient.
Yeah, that's the only unfortunate thing about it. Like no matter how many times you rack your brain, it just can't be done. You just got to move on.
Yeah, you gotta move on. But
it'd be great if we could have figured something out, but it's just impossible.
Well, look, if you know anybody that's really good at coding, you may be able to create a scraper to generate arbitrage across all different platforms.
Yeah, I know TCG Fish tried to do something like that.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
But look, there's a lot of ways to make money in this. For me, I'm not good at the whole picking what card's going to hit, buying it raw and grading it. That's why I stick to the boxes. But I do think demand's going to keep increasing. And I think the GameStop thing is going to bring more eyeballs. I think it's going to be really good for the market.
Yeah. I'm with you, man.
We'll see. I'm excited about it.
I'm excited too.
I don't know if GameStop's stock is going to do well, but I do think that they're not stopping at PSA. And if they go full blown on the shop, I think it's going to be really interesting for the market to see what's going to happen. And I'm excited because I'm sitting on a bunch of stuff.
Anything you want to end things with tonight? Any last thoughts? Closing remarks?
I mean, I'm going to get wrecked, right?
Gonna get wrecked, baby. How are you? How are you actually after getting wrecked? Are you and your family all right? You didn't lose your home, did you?
It's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough. Those Charizards, it's tough. Buying graded Charizards, it's tough.
Do you still have a good amount of your slabs?
Yeah, I haven't sold a single one.
Because you only get wrecked if you sell.
You only get wrecked if you invest what you can't afford to lose.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, I mean that's what we'll leave everybody with. Like, this is all fun to talk about, but just don't get yourself in a bad financial situation.
Yeah, don't put yourself in a bad situation. Like, I'm buying boxes and cases, but I'm in a position where I can do that. And it is what it is. It's an alternative asset.
Yeah, and it's just like if you got credit cards, you're automatically you're gonna.
Do not buy this on a credit. Do not buy any of this on a credit card unless you are paying it off immediately.
Yeah, unless you're like a business using it for the points or whatever. Yeah, don't be getting on that game of like 0% card for 15 months and like, well, it'll be up in 15 months. It might not be, guys. It might not be.
No, dude, I think that's a very bad idea.
Oh man, people take that credit card game so far, then they'll transfer the balance to a new credit card, and they'll just keep trying to kick the can down the road. And it's I mean, again, here it's worked for people, but it's extremely risky and it's not worked for more people. So that's my kind of opinion there. But
yeah,
guys, that was Steve. Hey Steve, what? I'll go ahead and link it after. Guys, if you want to come back to the video in like 10 minutes or like tomorrow, I'll have Steve's links posted, however he wants me to post, and you can check him out. He's got a Seeking Alpha. He's got an X account.
Here, put that in the comment thing because I can't put it in the comments. But that's the link to the GameStop article that I wrote. I threw it in the private chat.
Oh, the private chat. All right. I'll go ahead and post this. So that's his article. That is his article on Seeking Alpha about GameStop. If you guys want to go,
Wizards of the
check it out.
Coast and digital gaming for Hasbro did $452 million in revenue in Q2, and the operating profit was a 54.7% margin.
What is that?
We can end it on this. Check this out.
All right.
This is from Hasbro's Q2 slide deck. Wizards of the Coast is Magic the Gathering. 247 million profit in 3 months on it. So their Magic is generating.
They're doing $1 billion a year.
How big is Dungeons and Dragons Online or any of that stuff? I doubt it's that big. This has got to be predominantly Magic cards. I mean, this is generating just under $1 billion a year of profit. It's Hasbro's only profitable line of business.
It's amazing they bought that company. Yeah, that's amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
I mean, that tells you like how strong the TCG world is. Like,
yeah,
Hasbro,
you can backdoor your way into the product. You know that even if digital gaming's 10%, let's just call it 52 million. Say that Magic is actually 400 million of this on revenue. You can back yourself into how much product's printed in a quarter. If they sell through everything, you can back your way into it. You have the number. I mean, the TCG market's pretty big, and Magic is not nearly as big as Pokemon.
That's something to think about. You're right. I guess we're going to leave it with that, guys.
Leave it with that.
Pokemon, Magic, TCG World, GameStop, all good things.
Should I start buying One Piece or whatever it is?
I mean, man, you know what? If you were going to buy One Piece, now's like the time because everything's got reprinted and crashed down pretty good. I think some stuff's recovering. I jumped out. I jumped in One Piece on a whim. I got lucky, made a lot of money. And my thing is, I don't have infinite amount of capital. Pokemon makes so much more sense to me right now because I know it better and it's got such a longer track record. But it doesn't mean One Piece can't do really well. So I don't know. I just don't know it well enough. It's too new, man. There's also some other issues with One Piece. Like, Pokemon drove a lot of its early success from the show and the video games. One Piece doesn't really have successful video games, and the show is ending. It's about to be ending. So it's going to lose. It's not going to have the video game and show to drive the TCG, which it doesn't need it. Magic doesn't have that, but it just isn't what Pokemon had. So those are the things that worry me a little bit about One Piece.
So I actually do have a question for you. Do you know anybody that's graded anything through Rudy's company? Is his grading company going to be big or not?
I think it's unlikely, right?
I mean, PSA is PSA, right?
I mean, I thought Rudy was going to have better, like a better plan of attack and like actually try to establish himself. Like I thought he was going to start doing some serious numbers. But who knows? Maybe he is. Maybe it's just not public, right? But it just doesn't. I haven't seen a lot of those slabs, so I don't know. Maybe it was just something where he was able. Here's the thing:
Hasbro should have made him CEO after they got rid of Cynthia, whatever her name was.
That'd be crazy. I mean, here's the thing, right? It's just like, even if the company doesn't get big, it doesn't mean Rudy's not going to get more wealthy off of it. It's kind of like MetaZoo, right? Even though MetaZoo may not be that much of a success, it doesn't mean the people that are running it or bought it are not going to make a lot of money, even if it's not like a super great investment.
Rudy's story is so crazy. You got to applaud everything that he's done. It is.
How long have you
followed? It's an American dream. He's done such a phenomenal job. Unbelievable.
How long have you followed Rudy?
Oh, long time.
Do you remember back? I mean,
well before I bought my first Pokemon stuff.
I remember back when he was not like, he was still like working like odd jobs when I was following him. I mean, he was like talking about how he used to like, I mean, I remember like watching a very early on Q&A, like a 10K Q&A or something or close to that. And he was talking about like driving a truck like overnight or a graveyard shift for like money and working like in his parents' restaurant or working on the military base with food or something. Like he was doing a bunch of like other jobs. Like he was nowhere near full time in the hobby at that point.
Yeah, I mean, he's just done something that I don't think can be replicated.
You can't. People have tried. Like people are trying with other different, programs, and I think it was just that lightning in a bottle type thing. It was just perfect timing for the perfect business.
He's got a great mind for it. He makes really engaging content, and look, he's done it. It's really good. But once again, somebody like that who's sitting on that much product doesn't suck.
I didn't know where you were going with that. I didn't.
It doesn't suck.
I didn't. What do you? Here's the question. What's Rudy's exit plan?
I don't think Rudy needs an exit plan.
He doesn't. I mean, the money the income he makes from Patreon alone is astronomical.
Yeah, but he uses that to purchase product and then flips it. I mean, that's all. Then the YouTube stuff has got to be funding what he's buying from distro. I mean, he said that that's what he does.
Right, it is, but it's still, income. It's,
of course.
I mean, he's not, basically his product he's getting for free. Like you see these pallets of product, and it's because it's costing him nothing except, his monthly income.
I would love to know what he's really paying for product.
Honestly, I don't think it's anything crazy.
You think it's the same as everybody else?
I think it's probably in the mid 80s for a box. If I had to guess.
And when you hear that big people are paying in the 80s, nobody should be complaining about paying 100 or 109. Nobody.
Yeah, people are out of their minds. People need to come back down to earth.
5,000 boxes paying $82. You're taking one box paying 109. It's called. That's a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, and then, like, not to get political with it, but it's just whole mentality in the nation. It's like, oh, businesses are evil. They shouldn't make money. It's just like, dude, they're getting it for $85. They're selling it for $95, $100, $105. They're making like 10, 20 bucks a freaking box. Like, you know how many boxes they have to sell just to pay rent?
That's why I've never, as much as I want to open up a shop, I never will, because how much product do you have to sell to keep the lights on?
And then these days on social media, if you sell it $4, like Rudy talks about that too, you'll sell it like $4 more expensive than some guy online, and people will trash you with a bad review because you overcharge. It's like, dude, what is going on here, right? Like, my box is 109. I found it online for 105. Well, this guy's got it for 115. He's a trash. It's just like, whatever.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, businesses got to make money. Like Pokemon makes money. The distributor makes money. Everyone's making a little bit of money. And the thing is, no one's making a lot of money. Pokemon is. But like, Pokemon's not selling it to the distributor for that cheap, right? They got to pay the warehouse that store it. They got to pay their employees to move it around with all these different equipment. They have to pay their sales reps to sell it to the stores.
So much goes into it.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess the distributors are only making a few dollars a box.
Yeah, I mean, look, you saw Wizard. Wizard has a 54% margin on it. So if they're selling a distributor for 80, their cost to make the good is probably 38.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys, we're going to end it with that. Thank the Steve, the evil investor at Dividend Streams on X, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, and we'll have him back in the future when more crazy market related stuff's going on. To we wanted to switch it up tonight, give more of that financial talk, less of the hardcore pokey maniac talk, and kind of just shift gears a little bit. We get enough Pokemon talk. We need some finance talk from time to time. Any last words, Steve? What do you got, man? Anything? Shout out whatever you want, man.
Just don't put yourselves in bad positions.
Heard it here first. We're out, guys.